Hi class, this is Mr. Gilbert again. This is part 2 of our discussion on watercolors and the pigments that go into them. So I'm going to list out the names of the pigments in the set, along with some ones that I like to sort of add on to my set. But if you just get those 6, it's a great way to get invested in watercolors. It'll save you money, even though you're buying the sort of expensive pigments. It'll save you money in that you can mix a lot of different colors from that set, and I'll explain a little bit about why that's all you would really need. But for now, let's go ahead and write down what they are. So let's start with the reds. We've got your Cad Red, Cadmium Red. I'm just going to say Cad Red. And what you're looking for is, if you order online, you can click on the description. It should tell you exactly which pigment goes into it. And on the back of the tube, if you're in the store, you can look in the fine print down there. It says Pigment PR108. So that stands for Pigment Red 108. And that's Cadmium Red Light or Cadmium Red Scarlet. It's sort of the name that it'll sometimes say. But again, it's an orange red. And then the next one is, I'm going to say, it's called quinacradone, but I'm going to shorten that to Quin Rose is what it's usually called. Occasionally, they'll give it another name like magenta or just red. And that's your bluish red, and it's PV19, so Pigment Violet 19. Okay, so the yellows, again, it's a cadmium, so Cad Yellow. There's a bunch of different types of Cad Yellow. You're looking for PY35. There's also an orangey one, and there's a one that's a little more greenish, but that's the good sort of medium yellow. It leans orange, but it's also great primary yellow. And then this is Azo Yellow. It's also called Benzi. And PY175. Now the reason I just picked these to start with is because they're the most light fast and permanent, the least reactive, so they won't shift color as much, they won't react to each other and sort of darken with time, or they won't fade in sunlight as much as a lot of the others. These are the most permanent and the longest lasting, so that's kind of why these all work really well. And they mix beautiful colors in between. So Ultramarine. Ultramarine blue is great violet blue, PB29, should be on the label. That one is sometimes called French ultramarine, which is even more violet. It doesn't really matter. I think just pick any ultramarine you want. It's going to end up being pretty nice, okay? And then Prussian blue. There's a couple different options for your green blue. Prussian is almost black straight out of the tube. This one is PB27. Okay, that's one option for your green blue. If you like a lighter blue like that Cerulean, which is right here, it's great for skies. If you're doing a lot of sky painting, landscape painting, this is the one to get. This is PB30, the scratch, I can't read it, PB35. PB35, I think it also will say 36-1 occasionally, which is just a slightly different formulation, but it's the same stuff. And then there's Phthalo, PHTHALO blue, and that one is, where's my Phthalo? 15, PB15. So that's your other options, okay? Those are your optional blue-greens. Any one of those will work really well. If you're more into painting night scenes, or you like a darker blue, you get the Prussian. If you're into daytime scenes, or anything with a lighter blue, the Cerulean's really good. I'll tell you though that the Cerulean's the most expensive of the 3. Genuine Cerulean will be pretty pricey. These will be cheap. Phthalo and Prussian Ultramarine. Those are very affordable. It's very affordable. This is a little bit more expensive, and these two are a little bit more expensive. But the nice thing about those more expensive pigments is that they're very economical when you actually get to use them. It doesn't take much. I mean, you can really dilute the red and still have very intense color across your page. So you don't have to use up that tube very quickly at all. That's very diluted. It's still very intense. So it's economical in the long run, even though it costs a little bit up front. Okay. Now, in terms of additional colors you may want, like that's a great place to start. And notice there's no black in there, and the reason is that all it takes to make a nice black is to add complements. So if I've mixed my purple with the violet red and the violet blue, if I add a little bit, let's see. So this is a Prussian blue. Again, the Prussian blue, and then get something that's sort of off from that, like the Cad red, and that gets really dark. It's almost black. And then if we add a touch of a little yellow to make it greener, and it gets more neutral. Okay, so that's there instead of the black. And then I'll go into the browns a little bit because this is another way to get a really nice neutral. I like to have a couple earth tones in my set. Burnt umber is probably the #1, yellow ochre, and then the other one is, this one's called English red, comes in a lot of different names, but PR101 is your earth red, and then PBR7 is your earth brown. Again, lots of different names: burnt sienna, burnt umber, natural earth brown. There's a lot of different proprietary names. And yellow ochre, PY43. So if I take that burnt umber, this is one of my favorite mixtures of all time. Burnt umber. Let's go ahead and put it here. Notice that's a nice, beautiful, rich brown. Burnt umber. I'm going to add a little Prussian blue to that. It gives you this greenish, deep, dark tone. And then a little bit of the scarlet red. And now you're getting into some really dark stuff. I kind of mixed that with a little too much of that scarlet red. That cadmium really doesn't take much. A little touch goes a long way, so I think it needs more of the blue, actually. There we go. So that's basically a black. Okay, once you get that combination right, basically a black. So Prussian blue and the burnt sienna and a little bit of, tiny bit of the red. And there you go. Okay, until next time.